Welcome to the Blueprints to Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and on this show, I interview the movers and shakers of the world of property development and real estate. So, this show is supported by something few developers have quietly been using to get in their projects funded and sold faster without touching traditional 3D models. It's early, it's clever, and it's changing how people see off plan property. I'll leave it there, but if you're curious, message me on LinkedIn at Glen Palmer Secure or check in the show notes below. So, on today's show, we have Daniel Ginn, who is the founder and director of GinJo Construction. Now, it's a commercial services firm built on his mission to challenge outdated attitudes in the construction industry and push the sector into more innovative, agile future. With experience across multi-billion pound programs in nuclear, infrastructure, life sciences, pharma, and data centers, Daniel blends academic rigor with real world delivery. So his passion is elevating talent, simplifying processes, and driving new generation of construction thinking. Daniel, I am super excited to have you on the show. Glad to say that you took time out of your schedule to come and have a chat with me. Welcome to the show. And yeah, let's dive in, shall we?
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for the introduction.
You're more
There's
than
a
welcome.
space there at GinJo for the elevator pitch, and thanks very much for introducing the profile.
You are more than welcome, buddy. So, I'd like to start off with the question I ask everybody is if time travel became a reality and you had a chance to go back in time to when, you first started your career, what advice would the person that you are now actually tell your younger self?
I think that there was a lot of panic in my mind when I left bachelor's at university. I didn't have a real idea of where I wanted to go and what to do, and I think I would tell myself just to tell myself back then it's all okay. Everything's going to pan out in the direction that I wanted it to. And I think there's a lot of pressure at that age to get that job and try and drive into a career that maybe you're not engineered towards.
Yeah,
Moving more into kind of navigating into the construction industry, spending time on the construction site as much as possible. I've had the luxury of having a lot of practical experience in the field, but a lot of that time was sat in a cabin where a lot of the commercial resources will sit. But
yeah,
to actually then go put the hard hat and the PPE on and go and work with the construction management team, go and understand the processes and visualize the build. And that's something that now where I've gone into more of a kind of ops managing director role into that space, I'd wish I have a bit more practical hands-on experience. And
yeah.
so that would be my advice to myself.
Yeah, well, mine would be is make connections as soon as possible. Making strong connections within whatever industry that you may go, because you never know who you may need to lean on. Whether it's just for information, whether it's for advice, whether it's just for a simple chat, to be honest, is build that connection, build that network. So you've said that you want to renew mentality in construction. And from what you've seen on major programs, what's the one mindset shift that the industry really, really needs? And what's actually stopping it from happening?
I go to today. Um, if we look at Lower Thames Crossing, huge mega project. There's 1.2 billion pounds already spent on that program, and not a spade has gone into the ground.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, Glenn? And and
Yeah.
and just think, all it's a huge amount of wastage. There's fees on fees. There's a lot of bureaucracy. So my one message around that is the red tape. I've sat on multiple programs now. Heathrow expansion program again was subject to a lot of red tape, and to go through that process of submitting the development consent order and getting all of the consultation stakeholder mapping and agreements. It's a real challenge to get these mega projects in the UK off the ground. There
Mm,
is a lot of bureaucracy, and underpinned by, I thought in July last year we would get a huge amount of investor confidence from the government. I think there's plans underway, but to try and remove some of that red tape to get things moving. But
Yeah.
we haven't seen it in the industry yet.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed on that one.
But knowing governments and how they work, and especially the UK government, it's always red tape and bureaucracy. Do you think it'll ever change? I mean, being a little bit pessimistic here, maybe I need to be a little bit more optimistic. But do you think that the governments would likely to change their attitudes to all the red tape? So, for instance, I'm thinking of like the Grenfell Towers,
Yeah,
terrible, terrible tragedy. But from that has become a belt buckle and braces approach to construction now, which makes the red tape even more. So is there a way that you can see in the future where it will actually get a lot better?
if we centralize it around Grenfell, horrific. I'm from London, and the impact that it had on the community and still has on the community in West London, it is horrific. There are decisions that were made on that program with regards to the cladding that
Hmm.
should never have been made. You're right, though, the pendulum has now shifted to an extremely bureaucratic process with a new organisation, the building safety regulator. There's Gateway 2 and Gateway 3 approval cycles that are taking a lot longer than they should. I think that that organization is maturing. The
Hmm.
conversations I have with clients are that dialogue and the collaboration is more progressive now. That there is a commitment to go through the backlog of approvals to really start to get to these projects moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a horrific event that caused this change. That change will happen for the better. There will be much better protection on fire regulation of these and fireproofing of these buildings. So yes, I believe over time there will be improvement. Um, it's just right now in the mire on the backdrop of COVID, and I don't think it feels like sentiment has improved since then, that we're just in this malaise as an industry at the moment. So I'm hoping that we do get some shift, and there is I guess it's all about momentum, creating
Yeah.
momentum.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
once you get that momentum and that the collaboration improves with all stakeholders, then we'll start to really see some growth.
Yeah. So you talk about the younger generation having a huge opportunity to automate, innovate, and actually leave their mark. So where do you see the biggest gaps right now? And what would you love to see more young professionals actually jumping into?
I actually had a chat with our graduate QS. I didn't want to be too scripted in preparation for the podcast today, but I did have a chat with our graduate QS to really tease and understand, as someone who's just come through the education system, what how would you answer this? And I think it stems back to what everyone feels in the industry is that there's just no awareness in the education system of the roles
Yeah.
that are available, and the industry as a whole. I don't think it gets enough spotlight. I don't think there's enough success stories, and I know there's improvements in the curriculum, but for a long time the BTECs and MVQs have not accommodated a construction-based qualification.
Yeah.
So there's that awareness piece. I've wrote down here a story of when I was traveling back from Heathrow on the Heathrow Express, and I there was a couple of toddlers, maybe 3, 4 years old, and we went past Old Oak Common, which you do when you're going in from Heathrow into Paddington,
Yeah.
and you have all of this construction equipment, and they recognised all of the kind of big vehicles, and they were screaming excavator, dump truck, digger, and I remember that passion and enthusiasm I had at that age,
Yeah.
and I don't understand how we're not kind of extracting that passion and enthusiasm, and at what point does that wane? Because you've got people who are so interested and enthusiastic about the methodology and the way that we build, but then it drops off the face of the earth when we get to adolescence. I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
the awareness, making it more attractive, really important. Um, as for the how we go about it, we're moving into there's the technological shift. I'd
Yeah.
say I'm quite a young founder, and I'm very pro looking at AI integration into our workflows at GinJo, but I don't
Mhm.
think enough is being done into the actual build and the construction management space.
Yeah.
So maybe it's driven by consultancies like ourselves will give it a good go, but I think a lot of it has to stem from clients. Contractors are very concerned with their margins, especially with the market at the moment. So you
Yeah.
need to get that it needs to be incentivized by the client to come up with these bright ideas, and it's got to be financially incentivized as well.
Yeah.
It will create efficiencies, but there will be some wastage in that investment that's made. And if you're a developer, you might not see the full benefit of some of these innovations that a contractor will bring in. So it's a hard challenge there on the actual when you think about it just purely financially
Yeah.
for a contractor who have all the ideas. I mean, there's you go to these expos and you I don't know if you've been to UK
I've been to
Construction
a few.
Week or
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
London Build next week, and
I'm
some
going
of
to be
the
there, by the way.
oh are you? Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic! We can have a coffee and I'd love to yeah continue the discussion as well.
Yeah. Lovely.
Awesome. So yeah, things like robotics and that's a huge space. You mentioned at the start I've worked in very complex programs, and a lot of the buildings get very congested quite quickly.
Mm.
We should be in a space where you can say if you need to do fire sealing, for example, and you can't access that particular seal, you should be able to send a robot up there now to go and fire seal that. You shouldn't
Yeah.
need to spend hours and thousands of pounds having to take down a lot of equipment, create a safety risk, when it could just be a automated process. Send a robot, they do the fire seal. So
Yeah.
there's a huge space for development. I'd love to explore more kind of what's going on around the world. I know kind of East Asia and Japan have come on leaps and bounds with robotics in the construction space. It'd be good to
Yeah. Sure.
see how they've gone about things.
Yeah. I have no doubt in my mind, Daniel, that in the next 5 to 10 years, there's robotics is going to be a major issue. Well, not issue, a major player within the market. Where, just like you said, very health conscious sort of things, where it would take days and days for loads of health and safety, paperworks, signing offs, and all of this sort of stuff, where you can just send a robot up, get it done, dusted, done. So, moving on from that, in the intro, I mentioned you worked across like your nuclear, your life sciences, pharma, and your data centers. And now these are some of the most demanding environments in construction. So, what's the one lesson those sectors um, give you that the wider industry still hasn't caught up with?
Adopt a can-do attitude, and no matter how junior you are, you have a role to play and take initiative, make calls. They might not be right, but by not making a call at all and not taking that initiative, you probably do a disservice to the project and it probably has more of an impact.
Yeah.
Um, I had a really good piece of advice from my mentor. I'll reference him as Declan McNulty. Um, he's now the vice president of contract management at Microsoft.
Oh, wow.
And he gave an anecdote that when he was in his 20s and 30s, he thought it was all about this is in the commercial QS space. It's all about settling claims and being the hero on the site and creating the most savings for your client. But in reality, when you do these mega projects, it's trying to be as collaborative as possible. We hear all of the Latham Egan report, that's all well and good, but actually being super collaborative as a client when you're in the main contractor shoot and
Yeah.
getting the mechanical completion certificate on these projects as quickly as possible, that's important. That one piece of advice has always stuck with me. And that's
Yeah.
something that I've adopted into GinJo, and that mentality of just being super open, super collaborative, and trying to drive the project to close as quickly as possible. The team is empowered to make decisions to do that, and to ensure that the initiative and really driving the project, avoiding trying to get away from the red tape and that blame culture as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So moving on from that, you talk about a lot about collaboration. So, stakeholders in complex projects often struggle to actually see the plan before it comes to life, especially when the program is, it's really fast moving, highly technical. So, how valuable do you think that immersive 3D visualization could be in improving not only communication between clients, but communication between internal stakeholders, contractors, and also, of course, the young talent coming through into the industry?
Fundamental, one word to
Yeah.
sum that up. BIM is in operation on these mega projects. It integrates and streamlines everything. It creates a pathway and understanding of exactly what needs to be built. It's a reference point more than construction drawings now.
Hmm.
And it gives operations teams the opportunity to go and look at the project before it's built. And they
Yeah.
get the opportunity to look at things like accessibility and the usability of particular areas of the plant way before it's gone to site. So, and it's been mandated. It's been mandated that we start to use this technology. But when you get to the smaller technology, it's barely used. So the problem is you need to have, and it's very expensive to bring in these consultants, to bring into this skill set, and you've got to weigh up the cost benefit of doing this on smaller projects. So we work with
Yeah.
clients and we try to advise them whether that is a viable strategy. um, I think over time, as technology improves and hopefully with AI integration, that it becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, there's a long way to go with it. I think there's merit in any size project adopting some of the principles that you would have within BIM.
Yeah. 100%. And Ginger isn't just a construction consultancy. You talk openly about wanting to create a platform for talent and legacy. So how do you actually bring that mission into your day-to-day work with clients and contractors?
I think it's being readily available to our clients. That's something that I would like to think our clients would say. We like to say it how it is. As I mentioned, there's no bureaucracy in essence. We will be completely blunt and open, and there's no politicking. We want to create momentum. We want to drive outcomes.
Yeah.
Within our team, I'd love to think that they're empowered to make those decisions, as I mentioned earlier, to take that initiative, to adopt that can-do attitude,
Yeah.
and to make calls and just go for it. Take ownership, and you know that you've got the support of our leadership team.
Yeah.
And give them the opportunity to dream, to harness their skills, and ultimately that's the main benefit to the client, is that you've got a machine that's well oiled and everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think that communication is key, and being an open book as well. Because at the end of the day, I say many, many times, people, buy from people. People like people. You've got that like, trust, sort of ethos and mentality. So for me, yeah, 100% agree in what you're saying. So anyway. That's it for today's show. Daniel, thank you very, very much for chatting with me.
Thanks,
Really
Glenn.
enjoyed our conversation. Really appreciate how you demonstrate that ethos of building talent and legacy. Thanks again. Always massive thanks to the listeners. Just before we go, Daniel, if listeners want to get in contact with you and learn about what you offer at GinJo Construction, what are the best ways for listeners to do that?
We've got a quite active LinkedIn profile. You can follow us on GinJo Construction. Reach out to me, and yeah, I'm I think you nailed it at the start, Glenn.
Open book.
Always about getting a network, going. And yeah, always happy to have a chat. So please reach out to anyone who's listening.
Excellent. Well, a quick reminder, this episode was supported by a PropTech visual platform, changing the way how forward-thinking developers plan, pitch, and sell. Now, it's not mainstream yet, but it will be. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, you know where to find me. Thanks for tuning in to Blueprints to Buildings. I'm your host, Glen Palmer. I was joined by Daniel Ginn, and see you on the next episode.